Hello, how are you? My name is Teddy Allen, and welcome to Conversion Story with Teddy Allen. Today's subject is a good friend and brother of mine. He's an incredible guy, a deacon. We were deacons together, actually.
Yes, we were.
And he's talking even through my introduction, which is totally fine because that's what deacons do. They just do whatever they want to do. But today, he wants to share his incredible testimony with you. So we have him on the show. We're glad to have him. This is actually another traveling interview. I'm sitting in his kitchen, and we are recording this right at his kitchen table. So you're going to hear the truth, the unadulterated truth of what Jesus Christ did to my friend Alex Martin to help him to be converted and now walk a saved and sanctified life. So don't go anywhere. Stick around. After this brief musical interlude, he'll be back to tell his conversion story. My man, Alex Martin. How are you, brother?
I'm good, my brother. How you doing?
I am doing well. I love your exuberance. You just couldn't wait to get on up in there.
Couldn't, man. I couldn't.
That means that your testimony is like fire just shut up inside your bones that you couldn't wait to get out.
I would think so.
Amen.
I would think so.
Amen and amen. Well, welcome to Conversion Story with Teddy Allen, and we're so glad to have you. Listen, why don't you bring us to the beginning? Where are you from, brother?
I'm from the beautiful island of St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands.
Wow, okay. So that's not a Georgia accent.
No. Cruising.
A little bit more south of Georgia, I would imagine.
Yes, way south.
Okay, good stuff. So what was your upbringing like back in the Virgin Islands?
You know, my upbringing was of a West Indian upbringing. You know, you went to church, school, home. You pretty much went church on Wednesday nights, Sunday nights. So you was all churched up.
So that's like 3-4 days, nights a week.
Pretty much, yes.
Good stuff. That's not bad.
No.
That's good.
I would think so, but yes, it was good.
Did you enjoy doing it when you were doing it?
I enjoyed doing it, but I didn't know at that point in time where it would lead me.
Okay.
Further on in adulthood. You know, because once again, that upbringing, there were responsibilities in the home.
Right.
You know, on Fridays, you come home from school, you had to cook, clean, everything. Make sure my father's shoes is clean.
You had
black.
to shine his shoes.
I had to shine his shoes.
And yours.
And mine.
That's good stuff. I didn't know I would have brought my shoes by. I know you roll like that.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, then also had to make sure the vehicles are both washed. That's that West Indian. As soon as the sun is set, there's no ironing. There's no cooking going on. It's just you ready for this worship. You had to go to choir rehearsal.
Right.
And that pretty much started your Sabbath.
So for the Seventh-day Adventist Christian, what you're describing is really the preparation day, because for the biblical Sabbath, it is from sunset Friday to sunset Saturday.
Exactly.
And therefore, you don't want to be caught unprepared.
Exactly.
Therefore, you did a lot of preparatory work earlier in the Friday before the sunset.
Yes, I did.
Indeed.
Yes, I did.
So you enjoyed doing that as a kid?
I wouldn't say enjoy, but you had no other choice but to do it.
Okay.
Because if you didn't, it would be, you'll have something to deal with when it comes Sunday, when it's like, okay, why didn't you do this? Like my father's shoes, why is there still dust? You know, and he was, you know, strict. Okay. You know, he wanted to make sure when he goes to church, his shoes was black.
Right, and shiny.
You know. So that was pretty much my upbringing, that West Indian upbringing. Okay. You know, you dressed up. You know, so dressing up for me now, it's nothing new. I was doing that from since I ever knew, you know.
And for our listeners that may not have seen you go to church, he does dress up like what would we describe, like Dapper Dan, or just
I try. I
yeah,
try.
very well dressed West Indian brother.
Yes,
Good
most
stuff.
definitely.
So growing up, did you have any resentment as you became like an adolescent, a teenager? Or,
You know, at that point in time, knowing what I know now,
mhm.
no resentment at all. You know, it was your parents always told you, I'm doing this because I love you, and you're not gonna know what or when you're gonna need it until the time comes.
Right.
You know, so I just received what was given, what was taught, and just go from there.
Amen. Amen.
So,
So let's advance then. When did you come here to the United States?
well, after going from college to college, because I went to CUC, Trinidad.
Wait. CUC in Trinidad.
In Trinidad, yes.
What does CUC stand for?
Caribbean Union College.
Okay. All right.
It's affiliated with Andrews
Okay.
University.
Okay.
And after probably about a half a semester there, I couldn't take it.
What couldn't you take about CUC,
It's just,
Caribbean Union College?
if you think growing up in St. Croix was strict enough,
Mm-hmm.
the whole, you had different nationalities, and nationalities are clashing against each other, and I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't. Met some beautiful people,
Mm-hmm.
but school wise, it was like I couldn't. I told my mother, nah, I need to come back home, because I was literally a homeboy, you know, from home, graduating to college was something different.
Right.
I came home back to St. Croix, went to University at Virgin Islands. And then one day my mother, we had that talk you get from your mother. And she told me, you know what? If you stay here, you're not going to make nothing of yourself. And I don't want you to be under me and you just do nothing. She said, I'm not really kicking you out, but you need to leave. You need to, go and see the world, see what it has to offer.
Now, so were you getting involved in things at home
No,
that were
just church, same thing. Church. I was heavily in Pathfinders.
okay?
I did the AY thing,
Mhm.
played the saxophone. So I was part of the music department. So it was nothing out of the norm, but it became, I would say, depressing, but my mother saw that she wanted the best for me at that point. Mothers always have a way of seeing things that we don't see.
Yeah.
And she just said, I think it's best for you to, just see the world. But at that stage, I think I went to Oakwood.
Okay.
I did that for a year. I think that's the time when Oakwood was switching up from a quarter
To the semester.
to the semester.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And monetary wise, my parents couldn't, come up with that funding. So hence my sister was living in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And, she said, well, just have him, come up to Maryland, see what it's all about. And I came, and that was like, wow, this is a big adjustment.
What was the adjustment about? Like what caused
It was everything was bigger. The roads were bigger. And yes, I was in Huntsville, but it was kind of still secluded, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But no, this is Maryland. This is DC.
Right.
In 2 hours you could be in New York or down in Virginia. Everything was just big, and getting around was a lot. Was a lot. At that stage I had my license, but it was just me and my sister.
All right.
She took care of me. We looked after each other. And, after a while I got adjusted and I get to know the area. And at that stage I went to Metro. No, Metro now, it's where you come up here as that West Indian background, and to get migrated, you go to a metro,
Sure.
and then you feel it out. You go, and then afterwards, like, okay, this island thing is not. I'm not feeling it.
So for our listeners, Metro is Metropolitan Seventh-day
Yes,
Adventist
yes.
Church, which is in probably Hyattsville,
Hyattsville, yes,
Maryland,
yes.
and it's a very Caribbean church.
yes,
Yes.
yes, it was
But that was just way too much Caribbean for you.
way too much. I love my peoples, but
So where'd you go then?
from there, no parent around. I backslid a little bit. Well, I backslid a lot.
a lot.
You know,
Meaning you didn't go to church.
I didn't
at
go to
all.
church. I didn't go to church.
Okay.
I at a stage, I would work,
Mm-hmm.
come home, stay in the house for the weekend, and then go to work or go to school. And then my sister was going to this church called Capitol Hill. Let me check that out, you know. And I went to Capitol Hill. I think that was the point where I think Wintley Phipps was leaving,
Okay.
and Pastor Nixon
Yes.
was coming in, and it's like, oh, okay, I like this church.
Mhm.
You know, it's like, okay, let me check it out.
Right.
And after one or two stops, it's like, okay, I think I'm gonna visit here.
Nice.
I think-
What was it about the church that made you think you were going to continually visit?
I think when I came in at that point, I remember hearing an announcement talking about softball.
Really?
You know me, Teddy. I love
I do.
my softball.
I know. I
You
know.
know.
I know.
And then from that stage, it's like, okay, I think I'm going to make this my church home.
And that's where we met. We
Yes.
met literally on the softball field
Yes.
at a tryout or a
Yes.
practice.
Uh-huh.
It was me, you, your sister,
Mike McDaniels.
Tim Saunders,
uh-huh.
and he brought his little daughters out
Yes,
who are grown
yes.
women now.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
And from then we've been friends since then.
Ever since.
Ever since.
Ever since.
So you're at Capitol Hill.
Mhm.
You didn't say it, but I know it.
Mhm.
There were lots of single women there.
Oh, plenty. A plethora.
Right. You didn't say it, but I was there with you.
Uh-huh,
We were
yes.
single together there,
Yes. Uh-huh.
and we're blessed and highly favored.
Mhm.
But what else was it about? How was your spiritual life at this time when you're transitioning into Capitol Hill, playing softball, single? How would you define your relationship with Christ?
It wasn't all there. It
Mhm.
was you came to church, you look, see,
Mm-hmm.
you sing, you pray, and then Saturday night you hang out with your friends, you go to the club.
Mm-hmm.
That was it, you know. So I want to say it was deep spiritually at that point. It was something to do for the weekend, because at that stage I didn't really have friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just had, it was me and my sister
Mm-hmm.
and her friends, and that was it till we did the softball thing. Then you get to meet people, and you do, you know, the potlucks, and you get to know other folks.
Right.
But it wasn't on a spiritual level. It was, you know,
It was on a social level.
a social level.
Yeah.
You just go to church, you know, meet folks,
Yeah.
and that was it.
So
Mhm.
you were a social church attender,
Pretty much,
basically,
Pretty
not
much.
really a disciple
right?
necessarily.
No,
though
no,
you
I wasn't.
had all of the background in the church and
Right.
all that, but still not disciple.
That's
social.
still a disciple.
So-
You know, pretty much it's what you knew growing up. You kind of want to push that away.
Mhm.
You know what foundation you grew up on, but it was like, yeah, but I'm up here now. This it's a lot to see, a lot to do, and I just wanted to just explore and see what this world has to offer.
Right.
So that's how it's pretty much started at that point in time.
Fantastic.
You know.
Wow. Now, where does your life progress from this point? You're single, you're social, going to church, socializing. What happens next?
Well, at that point in time, I remember the singles ministry it was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they had a poetry night And at that time, a lot of people was doing poetry, and I played a selection.
On your saxophone.
On my saxophone, that
Okay.
is. And this lady came up to me and said, "Oh, I like your playing. I would like to have your number." And look like, okay, who are you?
Right.
She said, "Oh, I'm the assistant minister of music here, and Jude is the head minister of music." I said, "Oh yeah, she has my number," and she was like, "Oh, okay." So I gave her my number.
Okay.
Later on, once again, flashing back to softball, she played softball. We also met on softball field. So she said, "Oh yeah, I remember you." And it's like, oh, so you're the person that part of the minister music. I said, okay. So we decided to talk, and we noticed that we had a lot in common: music, sports, church.
Right.
She was of West Indian background. I'm sorry, I'm talking about Rosie at this point in time.
And let me just cue everyone in. Rosie was the same person that was the assistant minister of
Yes,
music,
yes.
same softball player.
Yes.
And you two ultimately start dating?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We dated. What I did was, after a period of time, I noticed where she would sit. And
On the balcony?
on the balcony.
Yes.
And the opposite side to where I sit now.
Mm-hmm.
And she would always exit out of a specific door. I was like, okay, so how could I get to talk to her?
Mm-hmm.
So at that point in time, it's like, okay, let me see what I could do. And after a period of time, it's like, hey, how you doing? If possible, one of these, Saturday nights, can I take you out? Knowing Rosie, who she is, she was in her car at this point in time. She opened her day planner. No, day planner was back. That was a 90s thing.
Yes.
Nobody pulls out their phone.
Right.
And she opened it, and it was just empty. just empty, blank
Right.
page. She said, well, it seemed like I'm not. I said, well, it seemed like you're not doing anything. So can I take you out?
Right.
Well, fast forward, we dated, and I said, you know what, this is somebody I could see myself, marrying and see where this takes us.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I did the West Indian thing again.
What is the West Indian thing?
Oh, those people still do this. I call her father.
I think people
Still do that? Okay. I spoke to her father, and I asked her father, is it okay if I marry your daughter, or get permission for your daughter hand in marriage? That West Indian quietness where it seemed like it's an eternity.
Right.
He said, you know what? Yeah, if she's fine with it, sure,
Right.
So at that point, it's like, okay, her mom was like, sure, go ahead. And from there, that's where everything, I guess, budded, and that was probably around 1999, 2000.
Okay.
Around there.
Because you
Around
got
there.
married in
2001.
2001. Yes.
Yes.
I was there.
Yes. Yes, he was. So that's where it all started.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the journey of our life started. I look at my life as a journey.
Mm-hmm.
You're constantly going along, you're picking up things, you're meeting people, you're dropping off people, fake friends.
Mm-hmm.
And on that day, I can't forget when the vows were, repeat these vows, and I did the for richer, because I believe you don't want to be poor.
You
know.
said that?
Yes. And Tim Nixon at the point in time said, okay, let's do this again. So, I said for rich or for poor. And that was the foundation. Now, doing those vows at that time, it's one never know how important those vows are. It's something like okay, let's hurry it up. Let's hurry it up.
It's just a formality.
A formality.
Yeah.
But those vows are some serious vows, some vows that you just don't take for granted, because somewhere in your life they come up, and it's the richer or the poor, better or sickness and health,
right,
till death do us part.
Yes, yeah.
That's when I realized how important those vows were.
So when you're saying those vows,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't resonate with
It's
you
not
as
resonating.
much. It's just something to say.
It's not I was 27 years. I was 27 year old at that point. It wasn't resonating. It was just like, oh, okay. I've been to many weddings. There's something that you say, huh?
Yeah.
But later on, you realize, okay, these are some serious vows.
So you guys start your life together in 2001.
2001.
How's your spiritual life at that point?
My spiritual life at that point was much better in the aspect of, how they say men should be the head of the home. So you try to live in a godly fashion. You support your home. You have worship. Things that, once again, you remember growing up. You try to take those experiences and put them into your lifestyle, because now you are head of the home, and
right.
these are things that you wanted to your family. At that point in time, it was just me and Rosie,
and you're emulating what you saw
exactly
as a kid.
exactly right. And I can't forget, we just got married, and hence it was 9/11, and that's when we thought that it was the end of the world, I guess, because it was crazy. I remember I was heading to my route. I'm working for FedEx, and everything was going on, and I realized that I need to make this call. I called her. It's like, is everything okay? She said, no, I'm home. If anything ever happens, just know that I love you. Well, hence, we made it through, and at that point in time, you realize loss of life, and it's how things could just be taken away.
Right, the fragility of life.
The fragility of life. And it puts, once again, things into perspective along this journey. So, 2005, hence Aubrey, my son.
The birth of your son.
Right. He came into the world, and that was our blessing. Everything was great, We doodle on him. He is our pride and joy.
Right.
So along the way, God is blessing us. And we realize that when 9/11 hit before, Rosie was supposed to be laid off. But because of 9/11, a lot of stuff was pushed back. I remember doing my job, and I got the call like, well, they terminate me. Rosie was the one that she had the insurance. And it was like, how are we gonna do this? And I remember she said, she always had this matter of fact, the Lord is gonna provide. Don't worry about it.
Right.
I said, okay, okay. And hence that's where your faith was tested. You're pinching your pennies, but somehow the Lord still provide.
Now, in your marriage, was that the first major test of your faith
Yes.
as a couple together?
Yes.
And it's a really big
It's
test of faith.
it's a really big test. It's a really big test. And we made it through, and she ended up getting another job, And that's where everything started to pretty much head down the road of illness. 2010, her father died. September the 5th, father died. Natural causes. He was 95. In 2011, I got the call. Seeming like I always seem to get these calls. They say, "Hey, babe, what's up? Can you talk?" I said, "Sure." I just pulled off to the side of the road. She said, "Just came from the doctor's office, and they said that they seemed like they saw something in my breast, but it's probably an assist or something. Just come back in a few months, and then we will, check it out." The doctors pretty much said, "You know what? Although it's assist, we come back a few months." And once again, a lot happened within these few months. She just buried her father and loss of job. And they always say stress. It's one of the factors when it comes to, cancer.
Yes.
Got the call, and she said, well, we thought it was stage 0, but it's a stage 3.
Wow. And this is breast cancer.
And this is breast cancer.
So what they thought was maybe just a little cyst,
it was
is now stage 3 breast
stage
cancer.
3 breast cancer. I remember that day. It like, weight just fell on me. And it's like, okay, wow, okay. I've seen people survive. Okay, we could do this.
Right.
I said, well, okay, I'm gonna get a follow-up and and see where we go from there. So after the follow-up, they were hence the chemotherapy. And I'll tell anybody that when you're going through stuff, it is great to have friends.
Yeah.
Even church friends. And there were a lot of people that were there to take Rosie to her appointments, because at the stage I was the main breadwinner of the home.
And you had to continue
And I had
working,
to continue working,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where, further on, that's where you feel guilty because you try to support, your loved ones, your wife, but you can't be in two places at the same. So
did you get the sense that she understood that, or did she have some type of resentment?
No, she understood, but as a man, you want to be supportive, because cancer is a thing that you never want to go through on your own.
Right.
You need some kind of support, because when you're there, it's a lot going on. You're talking to your friend, your mate, your loved one, and within 15 minutes they're chipper, happy, and before you know it, they're like dead tired. Chemo just it's a nasty thing. It's
like
unnecessary
zaps
evil.
the life.
It just zaps the life.
Mm.
But you know how these women are. They're like super women. She would do chemo, from 8 to 11 o'clock, pick up Aubrey from school. From school, she come home and take care of the house. And I wonder how she does it.
Was she very religious? How would you define her spiritual?
But she was very religious. She was very religious to the point that, you know, her thing was we will see what God has for her. At this stage, I told, you know, folks that when I went to work and Aubrey went to school, I don't know what kind of conversation she had with God. Because when we came home, I can't remember when it was the me. She was, how was your day? Oh, let me tell you what I saw on Facebook. Aubrey, how was your day? It wasn't, you came home to life. Although you knew what took place. And there was a joke, you know, when she tell people, you know, I got cancer. Girl, you ain't got cancer. I mean, you look too good to have cancer. But throughout the day or throughout the week, the things she had to do just to get ready for church. You know, and it was points where she would be dressed and she was like, I don't have the energy. You guys just go to church. I'll stay home and watch it online. Well, let me fast forward to the ending of 2014. That's where I think that's where everything pretty much, I guess, came to a head. This is where your faith is tested. Now, in all of this, when your mate is having an illness, cancer affects everything financially, spiritually, your relationship with God, your relationship with your mate. And we did counseling. And it's this thing of, there's certain things you want to tell your mate, but they're fighting with cancer. What can you tell your mate that they're dealing with? So, being the person that I am, I just suppressed a lot of my feelings, a lot of my concerns, because she's fighting. She's fighting for her life at this point in time. What do I have to contribute but by just listening? And I suppressed a lot of things. And I want to say I was depressed, but when work was your get out, you know, you didn't deal with the illness, because for 10, 12 hours, you were just working. But when you came home, it was cancer. Although, you know, Rosie's thing was she never wanted cancer to be the major part of her life. It's just a fragment of her life. So she just wanted to continue living. I remember I asked her, when is your birthday? Meaning, when was the birthday? She was going to celebrate her 50th birthday. At this point still, she's not working. We're paying Cobra at that point in time because we have no insurance. I said, just give me a list.
And Cobra, that insurance is very expensive because
Expensive.
it's almost what the employer would have paid, right?
It was about between $800 to $900, I think.
A month. Right.
Once again, through all of this, I cannot express how God have been doing miracles. And we're looking for that bigger miracle. And that bigger miracle was her being well.
That's the miracle that you wanted.
That's the miracle that I wanted.
Right.
That's the only miracle I was looking for.
But at the same time,
God was doing these little miracles in between, you know. And it's like, okay, so we threw her 50th birthday party, and it was fun. That money that she got that night, That money went towards, you know, the Cobra,
Right. Paying bills.
paying bills. So that was 2011, you know, and further down, 2014, October, I remember she put on a Tea, Tails and Tatas, and this was for the Capitol Hill women and the breast cancer survivors, and she had 4 ladies that had a testimony,
Mm-hmm.
and they were, of course, it was just exclusively for women,
Sure.
you know, telling them about the different journey through breast cancer, you know, what your body does, what your body is not supposed to do. And the women were uplifted, you know. I saw from what I heard, she was really happy, you know, at least she was telling her story. Because Rosie thing was, I just want to tell my story. That was her thing. I just want to be well enough. God bless me that I'm able to tell my story.
To give her testimony.
To give her testimony.
Mm-hmm.
Last time she came to church was, I won't say the last time, but this was the end. This was a Christmas program, December 2014, and you know, we got up, get ready for church, and she said, "Man, why can't I walk? I mean, it's like my leg is just dragging. I don't want it." So, you know, we grabbed a cane, and we went to church, and going up the stairs was laboring for her.
Because you guys still sit in the balcony.
We still sit in the balcony. I said, "Man, this is not good." So okay, we kept an eye on it. And I don't know what happened. This was New Year's, this 2015. And here we started a new year in the hospital. She suffered from this thing called CIPD. And it's a long medical term, but what it does, it has an effect on the nerve system.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to do with your fingertips, motion of the feet, you cannot move it. So she could be walking, and all of a sudden she falls. Went to the hospital. It came to the point that out of 26 days or 50 something days, we spent 26 days in the hospital. It came to the point that the nurses on the floor knew us by name. They knew our son. I mean, they knew everything about us.
Now, as you're going through this,
Mm-hmm.
you're still suppressing
Still suppressive.
your emotions, your
Yes.
thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that it's leaving an impact on you, a negative impact on you going through this?
I'm not sure if it's leaving a negative impact, but after move from, you know, counseling to a therapist, the therapist said that I'm in mourning. Like, why am I in mourning? She's still alive. She said it's a thing of you're watching your mate before you dwindle. You know, somebody that's vibrant, you know, move and shake her. She does stuff. Now down to just barely walking.
Right.
So at that point in time, we found out that with this CIPD, I think that's the acronym for it, she had to do a flush. You're flushing out the bad, antibodies and putting the good ones. Well, at this moment, she did the flush and everything, and she started to move her limbs and everything, started to work. It's like, okay, so this is what it is. 6 weeks after, it happened again. She couldn't walk. So we had to go to the hospital, and they admitted her. We know what it was. We did it again. But this time, this is where everything started, we realized that she caught a staph infection in the hospital. That Friday night, while me and Aubrey was talking, the nurse came in and he was taking her, her signs, checking everything, blood pressure. So I can't forget this look on his face, because he's looking at everything and then he's looking at her, and he looks at her and said, "You okay?" She said, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's, I just can't wait to get out of the hospital." Because her thing was, you get sicker in the hospital than you are at
Right,
home.
yeah.
So she
Hospitals
just,
are not a great place to be.
right. She just didn't want to be there anymore. I mean, we lived at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Well, only to realize that the nurse looked at us and, he said, "I think you need to get you and your son outside. Just go down to the lobby." And while we're walking, we're hearing code blue. Code blue to room 227 is like, the last time I checked, room 227, that's the room that we came from.
Right.
So I kind of like, hurried Aubrey, and I'm just seeing a flock of nurses coming from whatever rooms. After, this is where me and Aubrey prayed, and we prayed. I try to pray with Aubrey for the simple things. Just pray that mommy feels better.
Mm-hmm.
At this stage, Aubrey have pretty much seen everything. I mean, Aubrey knew when she went to appointment how to check her in. I mean, he was like another godsend.
How old was Aubrey at this time of the code blue?
Aubrey was probably about 9.
Wow, it's very young.
Very young, very young, and he's a trooper. Well, we came back to the room, and at that point in time, friends was come to visit, Ruth and Liz, Jude, Patrick, and Geddes, and Wida Barkley, and they was wondering what's all this commotion. Rosie just in there, just they said I almost died. They put the bed back, and when they realized they didn't have any IV in her arms, so it wasn't flushing anything, and she wasn't getting any oxygen. I don't know the term, but they said that her heart was racing so fast that at any point in time it would have just failed. I remember like it was yesterday, I came outside the room and Jude looked at me and said, "Alexis, y'all need help." I said, "Jude, you know how Rosie is. Rosie she does like a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep it, simple." She said, "No, y'all need help." I said, "Okay." No, this is where miracles just was happening. She went to church, and this brother, God rest his soul, but he pulled Jude to the side and he said, "There's something heavy in my heart that I need to express. And if any way I can help, I would like to start a GoFundMe page for Rosie to start someone." That brother is Ulysses.
Okay. Ulysses Wood.
Ulysses Woods. Now, blessings once again is just, I'm looking for that big miracle.
Right.
But there are little miracles that's going on. So they started this GoFundMe page, and it raised a substantial amount of money. We got it. We got some things that we needed. We got a chairlift. Now, I've seen these chairs. It's funny how you see things throughout life, and you're like, "Oh man, that person must be really old." Or you don't know what kind of sickness,
right,
they're going through. But there was a chair rail going up and down the stairs, that helped Rosie get up and down, because coming down the stairs, it wasn't happening. And there are certain things, pay bills and stuff to make her life easier. Once again, that was a blessing. But once I didn't see all those blessings. I saw it, but it's like, yeah, that's fine, that's great. But I'm looking for total healing. Still while all this is going on, I'm praying God just give her peace of mind, and also, pray for Aubrey. Give me the strength to be supportive and help her through all of this. While all of this is going on now, she's back and forth to the hospital. This CIPD came back again. We knew what it was. She did the treatment. She will come home. And for 2 or 3 weeks, thank God that I have a job that I was able to take about 3 months off. Because Rosie couldn't do anything for herself. When I mean, how our parents always say, once a man, twice a child.
Yes.
I heard my parents say, but I didn't actually know what it was. And Teddy, when those vows came into play again, for better or for worse, when Rosie couldn't do anything for herself, she couldn't brush her teeth. I gave her a bath. I wiped her, did all those things. And through all of this, Rosie had the sense of humor to say, well, I guess you didn't bargain for all of this when we said those vows, huh? And through all of that, we managed to have a good laugh. And from that point, I realized taking care of her, it wasn't physically draining. I think it was more emotional. Because this is, once again, going back to those vows. For better or for worse. This was our worst. Sickness. This was it. So through all of this, everything went on. We recuperate. Things got better, but not better how we wanted it to be.
Right.
Because things slowly progress. And in June, once again, her brother died from colon cancer. No, 2 years before that, her brother was diagnosed with colon cancer. So he died in June.
And this is June of what year?
June. This is June 2015.
Okay.
2015. And through all of this, once again, I don't know what kind of conversation Rosie had with God, but she just seemed like she was at peace. And, I take my cues from her. Wherever her emotions are, I try to pick her up. But she was picking us up. And through all of this, things just spiral. And then we decided we always thought that we had time. She wanted to go to Barbados one more time, just do a lot of things, do a big vacation. But once again, when you have illness, you got to plan stuff based on how you feel.
Right. And her family's from Barbados.
And her family's from Barbados.
Right.
So through all of this, we couldn't get to do those things. And in July of 2015, we finally we went to the hospital again, and that's when the doctors pretty much, she was having these dizzy spells, and just she couldn't keep anything down. Any little movement, she literally couldn't move. That's when we found out that the cancer had spread to her brain. And at this point in time, I said, well, we can either take her to Baltimore, which is John Hopkins, or keep her here, put a stent in her brain to release the pressure, or we just give her some steroids and do some radiation. So I put in the stent it was 50-50. She could have done it and died in the process. So I decided, let's just do this, the steroids and radiation.
Okay.
And that gave her brain release. But still, when all this was going on, Rosie seemed to have this cough that was just, you heard it. Even when me and Aubrey hear it now from somebody, we look at each other's like, we know that cough. And it's a cough that it's I want to say it's annoying, but it's a cough that when you hear it, it's something else going on. Well, when all of this is going on, I call Rosie's sister and say, hey, you know what? I think we need some help. Can you come up and watch Aubrey? Because I got to go back to work. Just help Rosie out a little bit. And through all of this, sister came up, helped. And it was a Friday when she had to go to the appointment. She couldn't go because she couldn't breathe. Well, setting up all these different appointments, John Hopkins came and she had to wear an oxygen tank or oxygen supply
Mask, right.
to help her breathe. And it would run from, the machine would be downstairs and it's a long line leading upstairs, and she would, sleep with it at night, wherever. But I remember that night when we all looked at each other and she said, I can't live my life like this. It's not like she was giving up, but her thing was, if I go to the mall, I gotta wear oxygen tank. I was doing all these things. And she, at this point, she said, well, I gotta do what I gotta do. Now, when you sleep at night, you have these thoughts. And you think your mate is sleeping, but you know that rustling is like something's bothering. And it was a 4:00 conversation. I said, you asleep? She said, no, I can't sleep. I said, what happened? She said, I'm just tired. This was a different tired. This wasn't physical tired. I said, well, are you tired of fighting? Or no, I'm just tired. I'm just doing everything and nothing's just not working. I asked God for my blessing, and it seemed like things not looking like how it should be. But I'm still trusting. Now, that one last time that she went into the hospital, it was like folks knew us at the hospital. They knew us by first name. Right. She said, I need to see this person, this person, this person. So I call everybody and it's like, hey, Rosie need to see y'all, blah, blah, blah. And they came. And when everybody left, Rosie told me, okay, go to the nurse's station, get a pencil or pen and a paper, and let's sit down. We need to talk. When your mate is in a bed and she says, okay, I have a hard drive and I have my program already set. Just take those things and give it to Milton. Milton will know what to do with it.
What was the program that she was talking about?
It was her memorial. Rosie was always a matter of fact type of person. Yes, I'm still expecting my blessing, But I'm not gonna be foolish not to have these things set up in place, because and one thing I admired about her, although she was going through her thing, she was still thinking about Aubrey and I. So she said, okay, this is where I want my body to be taken. I want it at Capitol Hill. So everything was lined up.
She lined up her
She lined up
own
everything.
memorial service.
She lined
program.
up her own memorial service. This is who's going to preach, everything. I mean, Teddy, when I told you, when you're ill and you're still unselfish about you, that you're looking after everybody, to me that was, I have no words. I have no words. So I'm writing down stuff. I'm writing down, and I'm thinking, I'm literally, because I've seen the program, but it wasn't like, oh, okay, yeah, she just messing around. But when I saw it, everything was already set. It's like, wow. And he said, if anything happens to me, I want you make sure that you get therapy, you get help. I want to make sure that you and Aubrey do some kind of therapy, because this is not going to be easy for both of y'all. Yeah. So I said, we'll be fine. You know, growing up West Indian, hey, tough it up.
Right. Stiffen your upper lip. And
right.
Keep it
deal
moving.
with it. Deal with it. But, you know, I've always been taught at some point in time you have to break that chain. Mm-hmm. And yes, I did do the therapy. I did do counseling.
That the point in time when you were able to release your...
Yes.
Did you ever get to release your thoughts and emotions that you were suppressing to Rosie?
Yes, we did. We did. This is the point where this was August. This was the second to last week in August. This is when doctor said, well, we're releasing you to hospice. Mm-hmm. She came home. She said she wanted to be home. Now, through all of this, we had that intimate talk about the things that we didn't get to do, the things that we said to each other. Because once again, marriage is not perfect.
Right.
The thing that we forgave each other about. We wasted time. We wasted time on things that should have been squashed.
Arguments or disagreements.
Yes.
Right.
And we sat there and we just cried for like about a half an hour. Because that's time that you can't get back again. So in all of this, they came in one Friday night. They took her to hospice, this Gilchrist Hospice in Townsend. And this is where she this was it for her, you know, because with hospice, you know, people came and visit, and you know, they sang. She was elusive, but as the day continued to progress, you know, she lose, you know, her memory, everything was slowly shutting down. So I asked her, so at what point in time is she going to leave us? She said it could be a day, it could be 2 minutes, we don't know. So I saw the nurse, you know, touched her feet. She says, okay, the body is shutting down slowly. You know, it starts from the feet, work its way up. I wasn't there when she passed. Her sister and her two sisters and two nieces. I brought Aubrey home and her mom. I always think that the three people that she never wanted to see her pass away was all three of us. And that is where my faith was shook. Because you prayed, you fast, Lord, I see you doing miracles for this person
Mm-hmm.
and that person and that person. What about us?
Right.
And that's where I lost faith. So did the funeral. Everything went well. You know, parents was here for a little bit. Everybody left, and this is where I have to take care of Aubrey. We have to take care of each other. You hear the platitudes, God will make a way, all this stuff, and it's like, yeah. Yeah, I'm not trying to hear that. I took some time off to make sure Aubrey was okay. So I took him to school, pick him up. He go to therapy. I do my therapy. Because I was told Aubrey, and I was told, we made a pact for each other that let's talk to each other. If, you're not feeling emotionally, just talk. If you can't talk, just write. There'll be many Sundays we just stay up in bed, order pizza, and just watch cartoons all day. Because Sundays was him and his mother's thing.
Oh.
He started to do the piano. He didn't want to do the piano anymore. That was him and his mother thing. So it was just both of us. Teddy, I'm not going to lie. I came to church for the first year. Yeah, I dressed up. I put on a good face. I didn't want to hear any sermon. And the sermons that were being preached, they weren't applicable to me. Because it wasn't doing anything for me. So as I mentioned, I went to church, and you probably wondering, okay, you're going to church. Why do I go?
Yeah, why even bother go if you don't want to be there?
The funny thing is, when you have a little one that's 10 years old at that point, he's looking at everything that you're doing. If I don't go to church this Sabbath, you know what he's going to ask me next Sabbath? Oh, Daddy, are we going to church?
Mm-hmm.
If I don't go 2 Sabbaths in a row, also, Daddy, we could watch church online. Oh, okay. So he'll watch his VeggieTales,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll watch church, online, and that'll be fine for him. Because for him, church is a bad memory. That's me, mommy, and him sitting in church together.
Right.
All the other kids are under their mommies.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that he sees, he wouldn't tell me. But through therapy, these are the things that therapists would tell me. So we went to church. We made it happen. Now, before all of this, 2015, we were going to church all along before Rosie. So going to church, it didn't feel different because there's stuff that we were doing because she's going to go to church anymore. So hence, since passing, it was fine. But we just sit up in church. We smile. How you doing? I'm good. We know the fake. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
The genuine folks would be like, no, seriously, how you doing? At time it's rough. I'm not going to lie. But once again, I'll tell anybody I love my Capitol Hill family. There are some folks that you can always lean on. And the one couple that I love to death, it's Josh and Danielle. And they tell me straight up, right now you're in a valley. It's not gonna be easy. We're not gonna color any rosy picture for you, no pun intended.
Right.
But it's not gonna be easy. But it's gonna be worth it. It's gonna be worth it. Trust me.
Did you believe any of that when you were hearing it?
Hearing it from them, I believe, because they experienced tragedy on their own. So I try to draw advice from, you hate to say, people that have experienced loss. Because somebody that haven't had any loss, what are you going to tell me? You tell me a few scriptures, and that's it, you know. But folks that have lost loved ones, they, you hit said, mentored me through this process.
Amen.
You know, I love you, young lady. Well, she's senior, but I love her to death too. Miss Hodges.
Yes, yes.
Is there nothing I would do for her? You know, and she mentioned, she said, "Man, you looking good." I said, "Yeah, Miss Hodges, I'm looking good, but I'm a wreck inside." And I remember we sat there for about 30 minutes, and it seemed like everything just stopped, and me and Miss Hodges just talked about losing a loved one and how hard it is to just get by.
Because her husband,
Because
Leonard,
she lost
had
him.
passed
Yes.
away. Right.
To just get by. You know, people ask me, "What you doing next week?" I can't speak for next week. I could say yes, and then next week comes, I don't want to go. Because in your mind, people looking at you and they're doing the, "I feel so sorry for him and Ari." And the least thing that we wanted is to be pity.
Right.
This is what happened to us. We're dealing with it as best as we could. So yes, I was going to church. Heard sermons. I remember one Sabbath, once again, I spoke to Josh and asked Josh, "I'm sorry, did that sermon hit anything?" I'm just, because I'm hearing something, but all I'm just hearing is like wah 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 wah.
The Charlie Brown thing.
Yeah. And he told me, "Alexis, because that it doesn't apply to you now. You're in a whole different place in your life." So hence, this was the period when I think we lost Pastor Gene Downson.
Yes.
And Ramon was the interim, and Pastor was coming in between. And a year or two after, Pastor Peeler came to Capitol Hill.
Right.
I don't remember the exact sermon, but he spoke about the loss of his parents.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
And I can't forget when he said, you preach it, you teach it, but when it at your front door, you just want to pull the blanket over your head and not come out.
And that's how you were
And
feeling?
that's how I was like, okay, now he's down my alley.
Right.
Okay, this is how I exactly feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then as things progress, it's like, okay, I went back to grief counseling. I was experiencing all manner of parts of the grief cycle, guilt.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much stuff in the grief, dealing with grief.
Anger.
And I was angry at God.
Did you express that to God at all, or did you
I told him I was angry
Mm-hmm.
because your servant just wanted all her thing was, she just wanted total recovery, total healing, to tell her story.
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't able to do it. What's up with that, God? I mean, this is one of your own. You have people. I think this was the time when, can't forget the basketball name. He was at a whorehouse, and he did drugs and he did all this stuff. And you saved his life.
Right.
What happened to your own?
Mm-hmm.
And I was angry. And I can't forget, it was one of those nights. It was 2:00. Now 2:00 a.m. is, for some reason, is a special number, because at 2 a.m. Rosie would drift off to sleep. Now they said the witching hour of death is between 2 and 6. That's when people often die. I don't know what's up with those. Right. But she would never go to sleep until 2:00, 3:00. So throughout this process, my eyes just popped open, and it's like, you know how we often talk about, we see a rainbow, and not the rainbow, there should be a pot of gold.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I had a vivid, it was like in color. It was a big bowl, and I look into the bowl and it was empty. But it was God was saying like, hey Alexis, you said I wasn't giving you any blessings. But throughout your journey, you had a blessing here, a blessing there, a blessing there, a blessing there, a blessing there. These were your blessings that would accumulate to put into this pot.
Mm.
You were missing all those little blessings when you had all those blessings that you had accumulate to put in this big pot. And as I saw folks that have been always there for Aubrey, and I never had to say I had to take off from work because Aubrey had a meltdown. He had a meltdown once, and that was the anniversary of her death. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I thank God that he's doing well in school. You know, he doesn't have emotional outbursts. Yes, he's still doing therapy. And the therapist, it was like, I don't know who his mother was, but she put some prayers on him because this is a child that experienced loss, and he's teaching me about life.
Mm. Amen.
Teddy Aubrey is my blessing. There are times that, I feel like going to church. I don't feel like, but I know that he is watching, you know, and he picks up on anything. He picks up on emotions easy. And he will ask, Daddy, are you okay? He's like, just having a bad day, but, you know, I'm good. So he keeps me in line, you know, and he still keeps me in line.
Amen.
You know, so, yes, through all of this, yes, Rose is not here. And there were always blessings. Now, I'll tell anybody that grieving is not a thing, it's not a faucet that you could turn off and turn on. It's embedded.
Are there still moments that you may find yourself grieving now?
There are moments.
And we're about, what, 4 years
Yes.
out from Rosie's passing?
Yes, there are moments. And there are moments when it comes to Aubrey. She missed him turning 13 years old. You know, his little accomplishments that he's doing in school. Next year, God's willing, he's graduating from middle school, going into high school. You know, he's becoming a young man. Right. Those are the things that I wish that she was able to see. So in all of this, when I hear certain songs in church, God is, and other songs, it's a tearjerker, you know. So I guess I don't say I'm at peace with God, or I guess God expected me to asking questions, and I got my answer. You know, I mean, things could have gone really south. I could have had a child that was acting up in school. You know, I'm doing well. We're still in the same home. You know, I just choose to just live life differently. I'm in that mode of I'm just appreciative of everything that I have now, right, and will have in the future.
Amen.
So, you know, in all, I'm just blessed. You know, yes, things could have turned out differently, but I have friends in my life that have been really supportive. They'll ask, you know, and the one person that reached out to me and is like, so when you come back to Deacon, this was head Deacon Robin Sampson.
That sounds like something Robin would say.
I said, Robin, he said, no. You've been sitting in a pew way too long. Time for service. I said, okay. And that's now have been slowly, begin to do stuff in church, getting back into church. The Lord is still working on me, because there are times we all have our doubts. This faith thing, it's something that you just can't practice on part-time. It is something that you got to do full-time.
What do you do when you have your moments of doubt?
I stop where I am and I just pray. It's a good thing when you have a praying mother. I just call and say, hey, this is what I have my issues with. This is just say a prayer for me. Rosie have taught me. She taught me this one specific thing. I never understand what she meant by it. She said, you can't have everyone praying for you because not everybody have your best interests. You speak to specific people that pretty much have a connection to God's ears and be specific about what you want. Yes, Rosie was specific in what she wanted. Okay, God didn't grant her, but in somewhere I'm still seeing blessings. I'm still seeing things unfold.
Amen.
So that's, I want to call it a conversion, but it's something that I don't wish on nobody. I look at stuff differently. Complaining, I used to be a complainer. I used to be complaining about anything. I just take it for what it is. It's like a different way of life now. I'm grateful for the folks that's in my life.
Right.
The folks that have left. There is a reason why, but in all things, I'm grateful.
Amen.
I'm grateful.
Amen. So there are listeners, or there are family or friends of listeners who may be going through right now what you have been through and are still going through. What word of encouragement or advice would you give to them to help them pilot through this period of their life that they're in?
I think the one thing that, there are many things, but that one word, hope, there is still hope. Once again, as I told you, the trusting and knowing that God is always going to be there, that's a work in progress.
Right.
But I've seen what he have done for Aubrey and I know that he is still working out things for the future. Another thing I would say, if somebody is dealing with a loss, is for every bad thought that you experience, infuse it with at least 10 good memories. That pretty much flushes away all the negative vibes. Of course, I learned that through, counseling. It flushes away that thought that could take you down that road of depression.
Sure.
So that what I have infused into my life, So when I wake up every morning, I'm just thankful, and just to think that God is still working things out.
Amen. Amen.
So
that is a good word. That's good encouragement. would you do me one last favor? Would you be kind enough to please pray us out and to particularly lift up those that may be going through the similar life experience that you came through and that are in need of an infusion of positivity, of hope, and of trust in God? Would you do that for us?
Sure.
Thank you, brother.
Dear Father, we thank you for the testimony that you have put into me that I can tell others about the hope that you still have for us. There are many that are still dealing with the loss of a loved one. That is not the end. There is still hope. There are still blessings. There are still miracles that God is still working within your life, although it seems that He's not. So at this time, we ask that you be with those, continue to bless them, give them that spiritual healing. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen and amen. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard from my friend, my brother, Alex Martin, coming from a 27-year-old getting married, making light of his marriage vows.
Yes.
Just waiting to get on that honeymoon. Many of us did the same thing. To a man that had to deal with sickness and death, and then had to deal with the raw emotions of coming through it. But by God's grace, he's back, hand in hand with God. It's a struggle, but it's a beautiful struggle. And it's a struggle that will lead to continued eternal life. That I am sure. So thank you for joining us. My name is Teddy Allen. This is Conversion Story with Teddy Allen. Please click like if you like what you're hearing. Click like even if you don't. We'll work on it in faith. And reach out to us. We have a Facebook page, Conversion Story with Teddy Allen. We also have an email account, conversionstoryta@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to hear your conversion story if possible. We do travel to record these episodes. So thank you so much for tuning in. Alex, thank you for being vulnerable and for sharing. It's an incredible story. God bless you guys. Have a great day or have a great night. And we will see you again. Each week we post a new one, so stick around and come back and get a new episode of Conversion Story with Teddy Allen. Peace.